Step aside, teams. It's the age groups' turns. We've got some championship insight on the next stage of quarterfinals coming up next. Hi, everybody. Tommy Marquez here. Welcome inside the Talking Elite Fitness studio. The next round of quarterfinals is upon us as the age group quarterfinal tests have just been revealed. We're going to dive into those in just a second. But first, let's take care of some important dates and details to keep in mind if you are tackling the test this weekend. Obviously, March 31st, the date, that's today. Tests have been announced. That's also the start of the first submission window. One day later, April 1st, noon Pacific time. That is the close of the first window, and that is also the first set of scores when they are due. And then April 2nd will close things out on Sunday. That is the close of the second window. And the remaining tests in the competition are due as well. And of course, moving forward in the competition, remember, 30 athletes in each division will move on to the age group semifinals. Diving into the test now, we have a little bit of championship insight for you guys. And first, I want to welcome to the set one of our favorite people of all time. She is a multi-time podium finisher at the CrossFit Games and your 2021 fittest woman on earth in the 45 to 49 division, Annie Sakamoto. Annie, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Tommy. I can't wait to talk about these tests.
Always love chatting with you. And our other guest today, a three-time CrossFit Games champion spanning two divisions, the 40 to 44 and 45 to 49. Joining us from the old Buffalo Brew Coffee House, it is Jason Grubb. Jason, how you doing today, my friend?
I'm good. I'm nervous and anxious to get going on these workouts.
Oh, man, I bet. And I know you're about to hit those in just a few moments, but let's first take a look at the day one test. And we're starting with test number one. We essentially have three different couplets, a 3-round couplet, dumbbell, walking lunge, and toes to bar. The second one, 2 rounds, walking lunge and chest to bar, and then another walking lunge and bar muscle ups. And each time the position of the dumbbells will change. Now, Andy, I would call this one dumbbell interference, but you're coaching some athletes through this test. How would you kind of have them break this up in terms of approach and some notable things to keep in mind?
Well, I think you just said it, Tommy. It's really important to break this one up early on. I think at first it's going to get really grippy. The dumbbells are hanging at the sides. You've got 60 toes to bar in total. And so I think it's going to be really breaking up your toes to bar specifically earlier than you think you should in an effort to save the grip so that once you have to bring the dumbbells to the shoulders for the front rack on that second piece, your grip isn't taxed, and especially going into those chest to bar pull-ups. And then at the end, it's going to get really shouldery when it comes to the double dumbbell overhead walking lunge and the bar muscle ups. So I think managing your grip early on is going to be a key to most people's success, meaning breaking those toes to bar maybe up into sets of 5 to save that grip.
And now, Jason, I know you're going to tackle this in just a little bit. I mean, looking at the totals here, 300 feet of walking lunge, 60 toes to bar, 30 chest to bars in total, and 10 bar muscle-ups. I mean, for you, where are the attack points, and what are the things that you're focused on as you're stepping to the line to start this?
Yeah, for me, I think the approach is unique. These are some strengths for me. Gymnastics work on a bar is a strength, and where I feel the sticky point, like Annie said, is in the grip. So I feel like the majority of this workout will be grip management for me. So if I break toes to bar, it will be quick and just to take the time under tension off of those forearms for just a second. I think there's also, an element of speed in the transitions in every one of the workouts that we have this weekend, but particularly in this one, it's a lot of transitions back and forth from the bar to the dumbbells back to the bar. So I'm going to be thinking about being really quick and methodical about those transitions, making sure I have chalk a place where I want it so that I can minimize the amount of time I'm taking between each one of the movements. And when it comes to that final set, I'm pretty excited for the high skill movement of double dumbbell overhead walking lunges, where for me, historically, walking lunges have been a challenge. I've done a lot of them in the last year, so I'm pretty excited to see them tested here.
Yeah, this is a great way to see if you've been putting in maybe some of the mobility work and some of the dumbbell work to keep those shoulders nice and strong. But moving on now to the other half of day number one, we have a two-parter, a 2-for-1, a test 2A and 2B. Now, 2A is a 10-minute AMRAP, 6 chest-to-wall handstand push-ups. We're seeing that standard from the individual age groups return. We have 9 GHD sit-ups, and then 12 box jumps, 24 inches for the women, 30 inches for the men. And then immediately following 2A, you have 5 minutes to establish a 1 rep max clean. We're going to start with that first portion. Annie, this feels like I'm just spinning my wheels here constantly. I know it's a lot of short reps, nothing too crazy, but for you, you're a handstand push-up ninja. Is that really something that you're going to focus on for the athletes that you're coaching through?
Yeah, I mean, I love this six, the low rep but wall facing handstand push-up is such a trap. Typically for most people, you would, if your handstand push-ups aren't super strong, I would say do the old Stacy Tovar, one kick up, kick back down, do another one, kick up, kick back down. But knowing that you have to do a wall walk for every single rep to start every single rep or set it really makes it difficult. You're going to have to know your capacity very specifically on these wall facing handstand push-ups because once you start failing those, the amount of time you're going to waste in a short AMRAP, like 10 minutes, is going to be critical. Obviously, the GHDs are just a little bit of a nuisance to the midline for those wall-facing handstand push-ups, as are the 12 box jumps, a little bit higher, 30 inches for the guys, 24 for the ladies, which again just gets you a little bit out of breath so that when you go upside down, it's just so much harder to maintain that really good position that you need for the wall-facing handstand push-ups.
Annie, I feel like all of your press to handstand work that you've been working on could have paid off here. But maybe, are you still going to give this
I
one a
mean,
go?
for sure. Yeah. Oh, I can't wait to try this one. But I've been just this after obviously the individual quarterfinals. I've been playing around with some more wall-facing handstand push-ups, and although I love regular handstand push-ups, they are extremely more taxing than regular handstand push-ups. Yeah, so I'm excited to see how this one goes.
And Jason, I assume after they showed up in individual quarterfinals, you went to the lab and started working on those. I know gymnastics is something you spend a decent amount of time on, but you also mentioned transitions. Is this something where you're just keeping the wheels spinning, fast transitions throughout? And is there any cause for concern with this standard?
No, I don't think there's any cause for concern, but I do think that this workout, the biggest challenge in this workout is transition time. The first thing I thought was, how am I going to efficiently get in and out of that GHD? I don't want that transition to take longer than the actual reps on the GHD. I would have preferred to see maybe more volume and less transition in a workout like this, but the test is laid out. So now it's to figure out, how do I attack this in such a way to move quickly through each transition and maximize my speed through all of that. I'm also not a guy that's going to strike and go 30-inch box jumps. I think in the younger divisions, we might see that. Might even see guys in my age group doing that, but I don't see strike and go box jumps being a good idea for me to do here, along with 200 turning transitions into shuttle runs. It's a lot of Achilles tendon work right there. So name of the game for this one is really fast transitions, methodical, practicing getting in and out of the GHD, up and off of a box. How am I going to do that? I'm going to be visualizing that, thinking through that strategically. And I think this is a pedal to the metal workout for me, being that this again caters to some of my strengths. Now it's just master the transitions.
Yeah, outside of the lift, it is the shortest time cap of any test here. And honestly, just hearing you talk about those box jumps made my knees and ankles hurt. I guess that really does mean I'm a master's athlete. But moving on to the max lift now. Now, Annie, 5 minutes, it's a short window. I know you have some athletes in the upper age divisions. As far as maximizing the return on something like a max lift and a clean, what is usually your approach for them in terms of planning it out?
Well, thinking back to what was it, the second test of the Open this year with that max thruster after the burpee and the shuttle run, the burpee pull-ups and the shuttle runs, we recommended everybody, like, your first lift, it's not going to be it's super light, but it should be light enough that it can feel really good, because you want to kind of grease that nervous system. You want your first rep to feel so good that you have the confidence and the movement pattern primed to lift a little bit heavier. And then you can take a bigger jump once you've gotten that first one out of the way. But again, when you're out of breath, Your midline's a little bit taxed. I think you're going to be much better off to hit something that's, maybe around 70-75%. That's a little bit of a no-brainer lift, so that you feel good going into your second and third attempts.
And Jason, a similar question for you. I mean, do you already have your weights mapped out? Is there a percentage in mind that you want to hit under fatigue consistently?
Yeah, it's interesting. Similar to the thrusters, and similar to one of the semifinal workouts we had last year where we did a bunch of wall balls into a clean and jerk. I'm always surprised when I get to that first barbell how devastated I feel. But then when I actually pick up the barbell, I think all 3 times that I've tested something like this, I've hit myself in the chin with the first lift because I'm bracing with everything I've got because I'm so tired. And the lift actually, again, like Annie said, we're greasing the central nervous system, but I find that my body is ready to perform. It's ready to do that lift. And so, yes, I have my weights mapped out where I want to start, and then very specifically where I want to go. I'll have 2 whiteboards. I'll have the whiteboard that I write the weight on to show the camera, and I'll have another whiteboard that'll be my sort of my reference whiteboard, because in the moment I cannot do math. So I will go into it with a plan. I may deviate from the plan, but at least I'll have, these are the weights I'm going for. Starting here, this is lift 1, lift 2, maybe skip 1, lift 4. We'll see what that looks like. But I know one thing, I'm not doing math on the fly with a high heart rate. It never works.
Yeah, I can't do math with a low heart rate. So I think just in general, maybe have my smart buddy map everything out for it. It's funny you mentioned that the almost the disconnect between how you feel and then what ends up happening as far as the muscles firing and the effort put into the bar. I think a lot of people resonate with that, and that was kind of a hallmark of lifting events early days in CrossFit. Before we wrap day number 1, another quick refresher on important dates to keep in mind. Of course, April 1st is when the first submission window is closed. And of course, make sure to check all of the movement standards and submission window times relative to your time zone and get those scores turned in on time. Annie, Jason, thanks so much for joining. That's going to do it for us in our day 1 breakdown. And be sure to head on over to our YouTube channel for part 2 of our breakdown of age group quarterfinals for day number 2.